I guess I purchased an inspection, but I didn't request an inspection. So we wasted 2 days waiting, and then finally I looked again and realized what I did. So our inspector came out this evening, right before we ate supper, and well, that's probably not what you were expecting. Good morning. So, as you saw, we ripped out our electrical panel. That's probably not what you were expecting when I said we were finishing our electrical. But we decided it was the best choice. So, we have a new panel here. Originally, we were planning on a 40 space panel. And when we went to the hardware store to buy the panel, I must have grabbed the wrong one, and I grabbed the 30 space panel. And that's what we've been working on, and we've known that after we got it installed, we realized that. And we've been going back and forth for the last, I don't know, month and a half on whether or not we keep that or get the bigger panel. And we finally just decided to buy the bigger panel, because all the wires and everything that we have with 2-door HVAC gives us 29 spaces out of 30. So we'd only have 1 space left over. And being a new build, we didn't want just 1 space. So we bought a 40 space panel. That other panel, it's not going to waste. We'll use it in the shop, or we'll use it in the barn, or we'll use it somewhere eventually. So we have an extra panel at this point, but we had to take that one out before we get started. So I'm gonna open this one up. We'll reinstall this panel. It's gonna go in the same spot. It's a little bit bigger because it's a 40 space panel. So the top of it will still be here, and then it'll just sit down a little bit lower, which is totally fine. It's not really going to affect anything. Our main power is going to come in from below anyway, so it should be totally fine. It'll just hang down a little bit lower. So I'll open that one up, take it out. We'll put the old panel in that box and save that one and put it away, and then we'll get the new panel installed. All right, so we got it open. You can kind of see the size difference. It's about, the 40 space about 6 inches bigger than the 30 space. So that'll just stick down another 6 inches, but that should be, it should be better, because we got thinking that if we put another sub panel in the garage, we're gonna be short. We have some talk about some stuff on the back porch eventually, which we wouldn't have the space for. We really should have gotten a bigger sub panel too, but I don't know what I was thinking that day we went to the hardware store and I just got the wrong panel. So anyway, we'll toss this one in there. Okay, so I kind of got my wires pushed out of the way. I installed 3 breakers. They're not the right ones. They're just ones that came with the box. So these 20 amp breaker, but I got a 15 amp wire. So I will not leave this as 20 amp. It's strictly for visual for me to wire this up, and I'll move these up as I go so that I can kind of see. So much like the boxes before, we need to strip this. And taking note of our labels. So instead of writing it on the panel itself, I'm just going to write it on a piece of paper. I have 1 through 20 listed. There's 20 spaces on each side, and I'm calling this one 20, 19, 18, and then this one will be the same thing, but it'll just be left side and right side. And then that way Tina can write it on the panel so that it's nice and clean, and we don't have anything to worry about there. So just going to run my wires down, and then we'll turn them in to where they need to go. And then we can cut them off. And this is the nerve-wracking part, because if I mess this up, we got to run whole new home runs. So I'm going to leave myself a little bit extra to start, and then we'll trim it as we go. Okay, so you could use a square drive bit on this. My square drive is in the camper and the baby is sleeping, so I'm not going to go in there and possibly wake her up. So we'll just use a flathead screwdriver. That'll work just fine. So we'll put the ground in first. And then my neutral and my hot, I'm just going to leave a little bit long and leave them here because these aren't going to be, we don't know whether or not we're doing arc fault, ground fault breakers or arc fault, ground fault outlets. And that will matter as to where we put the neutral. So if it's a standard breaker like this, our neutral is going to go to the neutral bar. If it's an arc fault or GFCI ground fault breaker, then our neutral is going to go to that breaker. So I'm just going to leave that separate. And then that's that. So we can pull the next wire, which we'll use this one. And this is office 2. So we'll write that down. Pull those off. And we're going to follow that same path to the other wire. Move those out of the way for now. Okay, and now we can bend that one in. Okay, so I decided to take some electrical tape and put them around these hot and neutral so that I can push them out of the way and not worry. They're different lengths, so I really shouldn't need it, but just to be safe, I don't want to lose track of anything. I mean, we should be able to find out what it is eventually anyway, but I'd rather not have to do one of those. Plug something in and test the breaker, and plug something in and test the breaker, and that whole deal. So this one is living room outlets. All right, so we got one side done. Had quite a bit of extra wire, but again, first time doing it, I wanted to make sure I had enough when we were running the wire. Now I know we got plenty. So we got this side to do, which I'll start at the bottom, but not with this one because it's short. And then I think, well, I don't know. I need to think about this, whether or not I want to put this here on the top too, but I can't really make that angle, or if I want to put it on the bottom. I'll probably end up putting it on the bottom, but let me move some of these wires around and then we'll see. Okay, so I decided to go down to the bottom. I unraveled the wire and it bends a heck of a lot easier. So this is aluminum wire versus the copper wire. So I'm gonna put some of this, it's called ox guard. Probably not gonna focus, but anyway, it keeps the wires from oxidizing since they're aluminum. So put this ground on. And then these ones we can just leave off to the side for now. Get this one out of the way. We can get this one out of the way. Now, so that'll take the bottom one, which it won't be a 30 amp breaker, which is what this is right here. It will be a 125 amp breaker. Okay, so we got that 30 amp breaker in. Again, it's just a placeholder. So that's 19 and 20, and we'll call that our feeder, which is just a feeder wire to our sub panel. Tuck that in there, and then you know what, I'm gonna change that, and that's gonna be open on the bottom, and we're gonna do 17 and 18 as a feeder. And the reason why is because we'll probably end up putting a sub panel in the garage, and I'll have to come through the bottom for that, so that'll be easy to hook it in right here on the bottom two. And not have to run it over all the other wires. So I can leave that ground there, that'll be fine. There's more ground blocks, so we'll be good. So that means we got two open, and then we got 17 and 18, and now we can start with our other same thing we did before, and we'll make it look like this, and then this panel should be done. All right, we got her done. I hope. I hope this is what the inspector wanted. So all of our grounds are connected. That's what he said needs to be connected and boxes made up. So neutrals don't have to be done. Again, I don't think so. But as I said earlier, I don't know which breakers we're using. I don't know if we're using arc fault or ground fault or just regular yet. It's something we have to figure out and decide on which one we want. They're the regular with the arc fault or ground fault outlet is acceptable, or the arc fault or ground fault breaker with a regular outlet is acceptable. So we just got to figure out what we want to do there. But that panel is done for now. So I'll go do the sub panel real quick. Sub panel doesn't have much. I think there's seven wires into it. So it should be fairly easy to do that one. And then the panels will be done. I don't know. I did put this block here. You probably saw it, to drape the wires over, because having them up there was kind of cumbersome. So over there worked well. So anyway, go do the sub panel now. Okay, so this one is pretty much the same other than this feeder wire. So the feeder wire is going to hit our main here. So 2 hots, the neutral, and then the ground's going to go to this ground bar, not to here. These will be our neutral bar. It's slightly different than the main panel. So this will get bent up here. And we can get this cut. This stuff is thick. Alright, so we'll tuck that up there. And then we'll take this out. This is just like a set screw in there. Let me get the anti-oxidation stuff. Looking all around for it. It's literally right here behind me. Alright, so that's done. I'm not going to hook up the neutrals yet, just like we did on the other one. Get those out of the way. This is for the dryer. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and connect the power wires here because it's not gonna be an issue. Ooh. All right, so now we can cut this the same way that all right. So sub panel's now done and ready to go. We got our grounds, and this one's actually all wired up, so we can put breakers in and flip it. I do have to fix and staple those couple wires. Not a big deal. Come back and do that, but we'll get cleaned up. And then it's actually getting late in the day, so zoomed in. Good morning. So it was getting late yesterday. I went in for supper and I was gonna come back out and continue working, but Mother Nature had other plans and it rained again, so I did not come back out. But we are outside this morning, gonna work on the last piece that we need for the electrical. I wasn't gonna do this, but I decided just to get it done. It needs to be done anyway. So we got a couple, hard to see probably, grounding rods here, copper grounding rods. They're 6 foot, I think, 8 foot. Are they 8 foot? 8 foot. Dang. That's even more work. I thought they were 6 foot. Anyway, we got to ground out our panel in there. So I don't think that needs to be done for this inspection, but I'm just going to do it anyway, just to get it done and get it out of the way. So they need to be spaced 6 foot apart, and they need to be driven all the way into the ground. So our panel, there's a footer right there. Our panel is like right here. So instead of going off the front, because I need to dig a trench for our main power that I'll probably mount right there, we're just gonna come this way. So I'll put the first one kind of right at the footer, and then the other one's got to be 6 foot away from that, and then we'll put some clamps on it. We'll put our 6 gauge copper wire on it, which we got right here. And then we can hook it up to the panel. So what I'm gonna do is take these little clamps and put it on the rods first, in case the top gets wallowed out, mushroomed from hitting it with a sledgehammer. And then I might have issues getting these on. So I'm gonna pop these on first, just kind of snug it up so it doesn't slide around, and then get on the ladder and take my sledgehammer and start going to town. Whew, that was a lot of work. I thought our ground being so soft would have been beneficial, and I'm sure it was, but that was way harder than I thought it was going to be. We got one in. One to go. So they need to be under the ground, but that should be fine. It's sticking up, I don't know, from the ground right there, maybe 1.5 inches, which will be totally fine because we need to come up over those footers anyway. You probably can't even see. So we got to come up 8-10 inches of fill dirt or fill or rock, whatever. So that'll be totally fine. I'm not gonna bore you guys with me struggling to get the next one in, and I'll see you guys when they're both done. All right, she's done. It's the first 4 feet are good, the middle 3 feet are terrible, and the last foot is not too bad. But I don't have to do any more of those, not anytime soon. So I got a little trench dug for the wire to set in. It's gonna be under that weed fabric and stuff, so it really is not necessary, but it's just gonna help it lay flat and not be exposed and get caught on anything. But what I need to do is I'm gonna run my wire along the wall on the inside and go through that pink foam that we put around it, so that way it'll be underground. So I think the easiest thing to do is feed it from the inside out, and then I can pull it and run it to the feeder wire. So I'm gonna go in there, I'll feed it through, and I'll leave you guys out here and you can see if it comes out. All right, I lied about showing you guys it popping out because that was way more difficult than I thought it would be to get the copper wire through that 25 PSI insulation that's there, but I got it through. You can see we got it hooked up. It's just one solid piece, there's no cuts, so we got to clamp to that one and then that one. I ended up going about 7.5 feet apart instead of 6. Actually, the more distance the better, and then 6 foot was just like right at the rib, just past that gas line stub out there. So I wanted to be on the other side of that so I didn't hit that gas line stub out. So that's it. Now we wait for inspection, and I won't make you guys wait till another video. I will update it here. So I think I can get an inspection tomorrow or the day after. So yeah, we'll get it inspected and then tell you guys how we did. Good evening. It's been a couple days, but I did tell you I would update you on the electrical inspection. So when I applied for the inspection, I guess I purchased an inspection, but I didn't request an inspection. So we wasted 2 days waiting, and then finally I looked again and realized what I did. So our inspector came out this evening, right before we ate supper, and he gave us a thumbs up. So we're good to go. We're good to start moving on. He did tell me to run, which I already knew I had to. He told me to run a wire for the hood. If we're gonna do it, he said just put it in a junction box, which I already knew I was gonna do. I thought about it after I requested the inspection. I didn't want to get into that before he came and not be done and whatever. So I just left it out, but talked to him about it. He said, that's fine, just do it. He'll check it on final. So we're good to go. We're good to start moving on. So with that, finally the electrical is done. And yeah, that's where we'll leave this video. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you on the next video.